Hey guys, Dr. J here, and in this video we're going to talk about the trust exam. This is the exam that you'll need to take if you're going to fly just for fun. This is going to involve learning the very basic rules and regulations that are involved with flying a drone, and these are going to be the basics of how far to fly, staying within line of sight, things like that. That will allow you to fly just for fun with FAA approval. And remember that the intent of the flight is the key FAA criteria for what's just for fun, what's recreational, and what's not. And as I've said before, if you're flying for volunteer work, if you're doing surveying of your farm field, even if it's your own property, this is not flying just for fun, so you need to be under the Part 107 in that case. But if you're just flying for fun, and it doesn't really matter how large your drone is even, if it's more than 0.55 pounds, it has to be registered, but you can still fly a larger drone just for fun under the trust regulations and be just fine. And it's the intent of the flight. So it turns out that if you fly a drone, you take some photographs, and you're flying just for fun, someone later on asks you for those photographs and you agree to sell those photographs to that person, that's totally fine. You can fly a just for fun flight and then end up making money off of it. It's the intent of the flight that's the key FAA criteria here. All right, so recreational flying is just for fun, personal enjoyment. It does not mean not for the purpose of making money. So again, it's not about whether or not you're making money, it's about what you're doing. Non-recreational flying can include all sorts of things, as I've mentioned, and even volunteering for a nonprofit or something like that. That is also not just for fun. All right, so here's some of the basic rules. You have to follow the rules of an FAA recognized community-based organization, or CBO. You don't have to be a member of the CBO, but you have to decide which CBO are you going to use as your basis for flying. And so there's several different FAA recognized CBOs. I've got some here on the screen. There's probably others out there. But what you'll need to do is, if you're going to fly under the trust certification pathway, then you'll need to decide which CBO model you're going to follow. You'll need to tell a law enforcement or an FAA official that particular CBO if you're questioned about your flight. Some of the basic guidelines that these CBOs have are: be aware of the weather, be aware of obstacles, avoid distractions, have a clear plan for the flight, don't fly if you've been drinking, things like this. And also checking your drone before each flight. Basic stuff, basic safety stuff here. Another basic requirement for flying under trust is to keep your drone in visual line of sight. This is what we've talked about with the Part 107 knowledge exam. It's going to come up here on trust as well. You must be able to see the actual drone in flight without the use of binoculars, cameras, other devices. And if you're flying as a first-person view, using first-person view goggles, you must use a visual observer to watch the drone during flight. And so you must be able to see the drone at all points. And the VO, if you're using a VO, must be able to see the drone. And in the case of FPV goggles, you should be standing next to the flyer. Keep in mind, just because you're using a visual observer does not mean that you can fly beyond line of sight. It just means that the visual observer is helping you make sure that when you're wearing those goggles that you're not going to run into anything. The next rule is you always give way and you never interfere with manned aircraft. So basically, the drone is the lowest, the least important member of the corporate structure, if you want to think about it that way, or the least important aircraft in the air. And so you have to give way to every other aircraft, helicopters, planes, any type of manned aircraft, you must give way to that aircraft. You must get airspace authorization before flying in controlled airspace. So whether that's restricted or prohibited airspace, whether that's controlled airspace, you can't fly there without getting the proper authorization. All the airspace is regulated. So this is something important to keep in mind. All airspace is regulated, and some airspace is controlled. So you may not fly in controlled airspace without authorization, but even all airspace is regulated by the FAA. UAS facility maps I've also shown here, and these are going to show you how high you can fly around airports without additional safety analysis. This is basically so you do your ATC authorization through the FAA Drone Zone website or through the B4UFly app. You can actually do that as well with the app. And these maps will show you how high you can fly around those airports without getting additional safety information. Next rule, do not fly higher than 400 feet, even in uncontrolled airspace. So this is the FAA's rule. Even if you're not in controlled airspace, your highest elevation that you're allowed to fly is 400 feet. And this is the same for Part 107 flights, so don't feel like you're being overly restricted with trust. This is the exact same regulation that Part 107 pilots have to abide by. 400 feet is the height limit. You need to pass the trust exam. If you're going to operate under the trust certification, then you have to take the trust exam and pass it. This exam is online. I'll have a link in the notes to this video about where to take that trust exam. And you must register and mark your drone with your drone registration if registration is required. So keep in mind, drone registration is required for drones that are 0.55 pounds and more. If you're flying your drone for anything except for just for fun, you're required to register all your drones, even if they're smaller than that 0.55 pound limit. But definitely for recreational flying, 0.55 pounds or heavier drones, you'll need to register them. And you'll need to mark those on the outside. Hey guys, Dr. J here, and just wanted to quickly update you on the situation with B4UFly. So there was an app called B4UFly that was the FAA's main app for accessing those services that B4UFly provides. But now there are several different apps that you should access in order to get those services. So I've got some of them here: Airspace Link, Autopilot, Avision, UAS Sidekick. So these are FAA approved UAS service suppliers for Lance. So you can also do your ATC authorization requests with these apps, and they provide the B4UFly services. So here's just an example one: Autopilot. You can get it on your phone and use it for B4UFly. So with these B4UFly apps, you'll be able to see if there's any temporary flight restrictions. You'll be able to make sure that you're not flying in controlled airspace. If you need to fly in controlled airspace, you can do the Lance request as it shows there. So great apps to check out. I haven't used any of these apps yet, but maybe in a future video I'll check them out and let you know which one I like the best.